Our recording action. Okay, so share screen. Okay. Go live.
In the darkness.
Okay, can you all still see it? Can you hear it?
My name is Balthazar.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
This went from first person to third person for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think I might have been the one that pushed it to third person. I don't remember.
If it wasn't you, it was definitely
Yeah.
me.
All right, ready? I'm excited.
Good God.
Okay.
My name is Balthazar, and I'm a bard with peculiar talent for storytelling. I was hired by a group of adventurers who were in search of a legendary treasure rumored to be hidden inside of a dungeon. The group is an odd bunch with strange quirks and personalities that made our journey all the more interesting. First, there was Grunthar, a dwarf cleric with an affinity for ale and a peculiar habit of speaking in rhymes. Then there was Kiki, a halfling rogue who had an obsession with shiny objects but who constantly tinkered with different gadgets. Then we also had Ren, an elf ranger with an uncanny ability to talk to animals and a passion for gardening. And finally, there was Bob, a half-orc barbarian who was fiercely loyal to his pet rock, which he carried around with him everywhere he went. As we entered the dungeon, we encountered all sorts of obstacles and challenges. There were trapdoors that shot confetti instead of arrows, puzzles that required us to sing songs in harmony in order to unlock the doors. We battled against goblins who had a penchant for juggling and trolls who insisted on having tea parties. We encountered rooms filled with floors made entirely out of jelly, and others that were filled with bubbles that made us float around uncontrollably. We even stumbled upon a room where everything was upside down, and we had to walk on the ceiling in order to proceed. As we delved deeper into that dungeon, we found ourselves face to face with a giant cheese monster that seemed to be guarding the treasure that we sought. Grunthar, being a cleric, was able to perform a ritual to summon a horde of mice to distract the cheese monster while the rest of us scurried past. Finally, we reached the treasure room, and it was unlike anything we'd ever seen. The treasure was not of gold or jewels, but a giant pile of cupcakes, each one more delicious than the last. And in the middle of that pile sat a golden cupcake, and the one that we had been searching for. But just as we were about to take that golden cupcake, we heard a loud rumbling noise. Turns out it was Bob's pet. His pet rock, which had suddenly grown to the size of a boulder and is now rolling towards us at breakneck speed. We quickly grabbed the golden cupcake and made a mad dash for the exit, with Bob riding his now giant rock behind us. As we emerged from the dungeon, we looked back and saw that the entire dungeon was collapsing in on itself, turning into a giant cake. We stood there in awe, munching on our cupcakes, as the dungeon crumbled away into nothingness. And that, my friends, is the story how we delved into a dungeon filled with bizarre challenges and encountered a giant cheese monster, all in search of that magical cupcake.
Good evening. My name is Balthazar, and I am a humble bard. And I would like to tell you the story of the Cheesecake Dungeon. I was recently hired by a party of adventurers, and I'm going to go down the list of who they were. We had Grunthar, the drunken cleric, Kiki, who was obsessed with shiny objects, Ren, who talked with animals, and Bob. Oh, Bob. We'll get to Bob, but he had an interesting friend. The friend was an inanimate object, a rock, named Phil. The group of us, myself, Balthazar, Grunthar, Kiki, Ren, and Bob, went to a dungeon. We evaded trapdoors. We solved puzzles with song. No thanks to anyone else but myself. we negotiated with some trolls over a cup of tea. We bounced along jelly floors. And we even floated uncontrollably in a room where we were turned upside down. All the while coming closer to our prize. But before we got there, we ran into a giant monster made of, you guessed it, Monterey Jack cheese. Now, you would think that our animal expert Ren would figure out how to get rid of this cheese with a horde of mice, but the mice that were summoned by our party were summoned by Grunthar. Don't know how that happened. I look back, I think that Ren was probably a little bit jealous, if you ask me. But we dealt with it, and we got through to the final room. The room of cupcakes, where each cupcake was more delicious than the last. And we ate our way to the center of the room, where we found the grandest prize of all, a golden cupcake. I myself reached forward to grab this golden cupcake. But as I did, a rumbling started behind us. Looking back, we saw Bob's rock fill, with Bob atop it, growing and growing into a larger size, until it became a kind of Indiana Jones-like situation where we had to run away from the growing boulder out the door to the exit of the dungeon. Bob's betrayal did not come to any fruition for him, though, as we escaped the dungeon. And looking behind us, we saw the dungeon itself was changing. It was not just Phil growing into a boulder. It was the dungeon itself growing into a giant cheesecake. And that is the story of how we conquered the Cheesecake Dungeon.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Balthazar, and I am a bard, and I am here to tell you a story about me and my adventuring party who conquered the Cheesecake Dungeon. My adventuring party is made up of Grunthar. I don't know what he's about. Ren, who was an animal companion person. Ren's not an animal, he summons animals. Kiki does something, as does Bob. Bob. Bob, the only thing I can tell you about Bob is that he has a pet rock. And so we went to this dungeon and we evaded trapdoors and we used music to put something to sleep, maybe, I think, played by me, the bard, Balthazar, as well as had tea with trolls in the dungeon. As well, yeah, and then we had to fight a giant monster made up of, you guessed it, Monterey Jack cheese. And you'd think, well, we have an animal person, they would just summon mice to eat our way through it. And, well, we did summon mice, but Grunthar summoned the mice for some reason. I'm not really sure. And, looking back on it, I'm sure Ren was probably pretty jealous of that, but we defeated the Monterey Jack cheese monster and then found the next room, which should be the treasure room, and found a room full of cupcakes. And so, cakes. So we had to eat our way through to the center, and at the center of the room was a golden cupcake. And as Balthazar, reached forward towards it, the room started to rumble and shake. And then we turned around and we saw none other than Bob atop his pet rock Phil as it grew and grew into the size of a very large boulder. And then it started rolling towards us, very Indiana Jones style. And we had to run and run and run and run. And we escaped the dungeon. And then the dungeon transformed in front of our very eyes into, you guessed it, a cheesecake. And that is the story of Balthazar and the Cheesecake Dungeon.
Okay. This is the story of Balthazar the Bard and his adventuring party with some other character names like Ren, Bob, something that starts with a G. And they are, somebody has a pet rock. Oh no. And they are adventuring to the Cheesecake Mountain? That's not right. They're adventuring, they're doing something, they're adventuring, and they go and they encounter, what is it? They encounter a cave made of, no, not made of, a cave that has some kind of monster made of Monterey Jack cheese, I think. There's a portion in here that I am missing. And they defeat the monster, and then they continue adventuring, and they are going through and they find a room with a golden cupcake in the middle, and I'm guessing Balthazar, but I'm not really sure, goes to reach for it, and then the room starts shaking, and all of a sudden Bob, who I think has the pet rock, or the pet rock's name is Bob, I can't remember, starts growing into the size of a boulder and starts like rolling after them, very Indiana Jones style, and they escape. And they eat the cupcake. Is it made of cheesecake? I'm not sure. Oh, also the cupcake is in what they assume is like the treasure room. And so that's where the golden cupcake is. Not important. I think that's it. Okay.
Okay. Did a bit of drinking. So, pristine time to do this. This is the story of Balthazar the Bard and his ragtag troupe, comprised of a person named Ren and a pet rock named Bob and their friend Garfunkel. And they went adventuring to the Cheesecake Mountains, and they ventured into the cave and encountered a Monterey Jack beast, and they slaughtered it, and it turned into delicious queso. And then they went in further and found the treasure room that was just an assortment of Goudas and Bries and other assorted fromage. And they found the golden cupcake. And right as they were reaching for it, Bob the pet rock evolved into a giant boulder and chased them out, and they slid out in epic style. And then they all really just questioned their lives and the meaning of what it was to be human. In the end, what does it really mean?
Okay, strap in. This is a story. So, this is an adventure of a group led by Balthazar the Bard. he has a couple friends, Ren and Garfunkel. They have a pet rock named Bob. Basically, they're exploring the lands. They run across a mountain made out of cheesecake. They enter the mountain. They encounter a beast made out of Monterey Jack cheese. They have an epic fight with the beast. He turns into fondue. They eat a little bit of the fondue, because who wouldn't? Then they move on. They find the full treasure room that's filled with just delicious cheeses of all over the world. But inside of this big treasure room, there's a golden cupcake. When they reach for the golden cupcake, there was a huge betrayal. Their pet, Bob, turned into a massive boulder and then proceeded to try to chase them out of Cheesecake Mountain to protect that golden cupcake. It was an Indiana Jones style escape. Then, upon leaving said mountain, they were left to reflect upon the betrayal of Bob, the now boulder. And now they don't even know what to do with their lives. They're lost. They don't even know what the meaning of life is anymore. Anyway, that concludes the story. Good luck.
All right. So, the story, a grand adventure of Balthazar, the bard, his friends Ren and Garfunkel, and their pet rock, Bob. They go on this grand adventure, this adventuring group, this adventuring party. And one of their adventures leads them to a mountain made of cheesecake. That they then explore and come across a beast made of Monterey cheese. They have a mighty battle, very mighty battle, and they defeat this beast, creating fondue, which they all sat and shared. Because what else would you do with fondue among friends? They explore the mountain. They discover this lair, this hidden room filled with all of these treasures, all of these delicious cheeses from different places, different realms and countries and whatnot. And in this hidden cave, this trove of cheeses, they find a golden cupcake. When they decide to steal this cupcake and claim it as their own, Bob the pet rock, he grows. He betrays them, as he is now the boulder, the sincere, genuine protector of the golden cupcake. Bob chases them. Bob the boulder chases them through the caverns as our mighty heroes, either Bartholomew or Balthazar, Ren and Garfunkel, narrowly escape death at the hands of their beloved pet rock boulder, Bob. After they've escaped, they're left to reflect. Where do they go now? What do they do? Who are they? And what becomes of them now that this friendship has crumbled? The truest treasure is the friends we made along the way. But these adventurers only lost Bob. Bob the Boulder.
Okay. So there were 4 friends. There was Garfunkel, Ren, and Bartholomew, and Bob the Rock, the pet rock. They all were adventurers together who went on a mighty adventure to a mountain made of cheese. And there they found a beast made of more cheese. And they fought the beast. They fought valiantly. And they ended up killing the beast. And ended up eating the fondue, which is kind of gruesome if you think about it. But they have feasted on this beast made of cheese, which I mean, I guess it's made of cheese. You might as well. So after their feast, they continue on their journey into this mountain and found this lair, a dungeon. They wound their way through, and we ended up finding a cupcake, a golden cupcake. And Bob, the pet rock, ended up taking the golden cupcake and growing and turned into Bob the Boulder and ended up turning on the rest of the group. And so they fought a little bit. The group ended up running, and Bob the Boulder started chasing them out of this lair. And it's a terrible tale of just how traitorous Bob the Boulder was to this group. And that's pretty much it. That's the end of the story. It's a sad tale of how Bob the Boulder betrayed his friends after defeating the cheese monster.
We rewatched mine.
Certain people in the chain really just drew it out as long as possible, and then people around them just went crunch, 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 crunch.
Yeah.
We rewatched mine to see what details we lost.
Oh, I know all the details.
In general, did they ever do it backwards,
No,
or did they only ever do it forwards?
only ever forwards.
The Morgan's was like a late night, like true crime story, like very dark and serious. And then you're like, hey, here's a fun story about cheese.
The thing is, I did mine after school today, and to Katie almost immediately.
And then she sent me hers immediately. Oh God, that's.
There was 5 in the original party. It quickly went to 4, then to 3, then back to 4 or 5.
Wait, hold on. Roll with whatever. We'll get the next order going.
Oh, let's go.
Katie's like, put me first, please.
Yeah, yikes. Oof, nope.
All right. 25 to 20.
Natural 20.
Natural 20.
Oh yeah, I forgot we're not adding anything.
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean 25?
Wait, two natural 20s. Okay, Johnny and Katie roll. Rollies.
I already went second. Can I just re-roll mine and be?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't gonna let you go second anyway.
Yeah.
Are we rolling again? Or
Nope, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so 20 to 15 minus Katie.
15. I'll roll again. 11. Okay.
Okay. So no one else was 20 to 15. It's gonna be okay. 15 to 10.
10.
Okay, so
11.
it's gonna be me.
11.
Oh, we got a rollies, Justin. Oh wait, no, I was 12. You and Johnny have to rollies. Sorry.
Yeah. I rolled a 5. I rolled a 7.
Oh, so me and Johnny are still.
Now you get to feed me.
Okay, Justin, Kevin, Sherman. Okay, Colton, what'd you get? 3. Morgan. 5. And then Madison.
9.
Okay. But Morgan's gonna be in the same spot again.
I feel like
I'm after Madison this time.
Do you? Okay. All right. We'll keep it. Morgan. All right, Colton. You are
really bad or really, really good.
Colton, you're bringing up the.
You don't even know.
Colton, you're bringing up the rear here. So I'll send this picture, but Katie, you are up first.
Oh, I need everybody to know that the whole reason it changed from a dungeon to a mountain was because Kevin, when you were telling your story and you kept talking about cheesecake and cupcakes and cheese and all this stuff, all I could think of was Charlie the Unicorn King.
Yeah.
And and in my mind I was like, it's totally a mountain, and then they were in a cave and it was a dungeon the whole time.
I also like how we started it, and the like 5 of you at the end, 1 of you went, wait, it started in first person, and I was like, oh. I panicked and I was like, did I fuck that up?
Where it was just...
Also,
I can't tell if it was too hard too early or if it just really.
The names were a lot, right? Like the names were a lot at the beginning, but I don't think the story itself was too hard. At least personally for me, it wasn't. But
I guarantee you.
I'm going to apologize in advance because Madison and me is already.
Yeah.
There's really only 3 phases to the story. There was the introduction of the characters, then there was the...
Easy for somebody who's no-handed.
There was a lot going on in that dungeon.
There was so much going on.
But it was
wait, also, can we talk about how Monterey Jack was just added in there?
It was totally just added. Right off the bat.
Can we cut it down to 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes and see how that goes?
Well, it's supposed to be anywhere between 2 to 3. So like Kevin just happened to make it 3 minutes. Listen, Katie shrunk that story down to 2 minutes. So like
okay.
Also, this time
it would not have been
50 seconds off of Madison's.
Yeah, for the next one, I will I'll turn like I didn't watch through because I didn't want to watch any of them. So this time I'll at least play through like Morgan's was quiet, so I'll turn her up. I'll turn like I was super any of us that used our phones were super loud because we were right here. So like I'll play with it. But that was fun. I enjoyed it.
One more time.
Huh?
Gang, I can.
I want to see the original one.
Okay.
Because I think it's all the expository or exposition kind of.
There was a lot of good.
No, it was all the flavor words. It wasn't the beats. I don't think it was the events and stuff. I think it was all the flavor words in between that got people to forget stuff.
Yeah.
I get lost.
Well, but that's the point. You're telling a story, right? That's the
confetti instead of arrows. There was puzzles that required us to sing songs. And
it's okay. I forgot that there was a room that you had to go upside down in. I got the trolls, the tea with trolls, and the.
Like I knew there was going to be a lot of pieces that weren't there, but I didn't realize.
Yeah, but then.
I love when Madison sounded like she was like, and then this happened.
Yeah, but the best was she would be so confident, and then all of a sudden she would turn and go, "Is that right?"
Every ending of my sentence ended.
If I ever go first, I'm just going to do that right off the bat.
Were in search of a legendary treasure rumored to be hidden inside of a dungeon. The group is an odd bunch with strange quirks and personalities that made our journey all the more interesting. First, there was Grunthar, a dwarf cleric.
Doesn't
with
exist.
an affinity for ale and peculiar knives. And there was Kiki.
She was just erased entirely.
So is she.
Never heard of her.
Then we also had Ren, an elf ranger with an uncanny ability to talk to animals and a passion for gardening.
Yeah, screw their classes and race.
Yeah, right.
Passion for gardening.
Barbarian was fiercely loyal to his pet rock, which he carried around wherever he went. The bard had been kept who encountered all sorts of obstacles and challenges.
And the pet rock's name is Phil, according to Johnny.
puzzles that required us to sing
Not
songs in
Bob the
harmony
Boulder.
in order to unlock the doors.
Who owns the pet rock?
Bob owned the pet rock.
Hang on, pause it, because we lost this whole entire paragraph of detail.
We also
Yeah,
wait,
but who
hold
cares
on.
about that?
But we also hold on. Not only did that, Madison had the name right. Madison called, who was it that said Bartholomew or Balthazar? Madison had Balthazar. Justin had Balthazar.
And then at the end,
It was
Balthazar,
Morgan.
and then
That's
near the
right.
end, I was like,
Bartholomew
wait, was it
or
Balthazar
Balthazar.
Bartholomew?
And then
And
Katie
then
just went with Bartholomew.
That's what I was saying, is that even Madison didn't mention Grunthar.
But she
Grunthar
said something with a G.
But she said it at the end.
No,
No,
she
but
didn't.
She actually said Grunthar.
No.
I don't think I did.
Madison never said Grunthar.
Okay.
But yeah, that whole entire paragraph, totally lost.
Yeah, we didn't need it.
It was, shot confetti and feathers.
Filled with
That's
floors
fine.
made entirely out of jelly.
Once you
Other
had me at roll
bubbles
time.
that made us float around uncontrollably. We even stumbled upon a room where everything was upside down, and we had to walk on the ceiling in order to proceed. As we delved deeper into that dungeon, we found ourselves face to face with a giant cheese monster that seemed to be guarding the treasure.
Has
that we
nothing
sought.
to do with fondue.
Grunthar,
Or Monterey Jack.
was able to perform a ritual to summon a horde of mice to distract the cheese monster while the rest of us scurried past.
They didn't even defeat the cheese monster.
Reached
Yeah, not
the
even
treasure room,
defeated.
and it was only
I
after we reached
dropped the mice
the
plot
treasure was
altogether.
not a boulder
There were no mice in my story.
giant pile of cupcakes, each one more delicious than the last. And
There also wasn't a room full of treasure, it was just a room full of cupcakes.
Not even a room full of
Nice,
cheese.
just the one.
one that we had been searching
Yeah,
for.
it had nothing to do with cheesecake.
But just as we were about to take
What do you mean?
we heard a loud rumble. Turns out it was Bob's pet.
When I got to the end of yours, Johnny, I was like, where was the cheesecake? I was like, is it because it's cheese and cake? What?
Quickly grabbed the golden cupcake and made it
That's what I thought.
for the exit.
I thought it turns into. I thought the mountain turned into cheesecake.
There was no mountain!
It did. It did.
It did in Johnny's.
The cave has to be in the mountain.
Turning into a giant cake.
It was a dungeon.
Munching on our cupcakes as the
Dungeon has to be in the cave in the mountain.
There was never
And that, my friends, is a story.
Is it?
There was never a mountain.
There was literally never a mountain.
No, it was always a dungeon. It had nothing to do with cheesecake.
But there was a
Everything
cave,
to do
right?
with cheesecake.
It does now.
Was there a cave?
I think it was a good addition, the cheesecake.
Listen, Johnny added a lot of good additions that made it part of the way. Monterey Jack made it almost to the end. Phil, I thought, was an excellent addition because it was another name you had to remember.
How do you not name the pet rock?
And then the cheesecake.
You do. His name's Bob.
No, it's Phil.
I'm just glad the rock had a name.
I
don't care what
recorded
it is.
me watching Justin's the first time because I wasn't sure if we were doing that as well. I know Justin told me not to, but I was like, I just want, for posterity's sake. So I recorded it. And the moment that he goes, this rock, Bob, turned into a boulder. And I was like, fuck me. It just immediately just like lost it. And I like stopped paying attention for like 30 seconds and then came back in.
But
because I was
can
too
we
busy
talk
laughing
about-
at Bob the boulder in my own
Can
head.
we talk about Colton's just existential crisis stare?
The black pits of his eyes.
Yes, his eyes
got
were
really dark.
giant black circles.
What time did I send that to you, Justin?
It was late.
You at like 1 in the morning.
For you?
I think it was after
Yeah,
we were
after I was drinking. For a
Because
couple
that's
hours.
late for
It
us.
was 2:30 in the morning.
It was after we were playing Jackbox.
Oh my
'Cause it was
god.
during Jackbox that you were like, we need to text Colton. So.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Johnny, I loved your video too, because I don't know where you were looking.
Yeah, right.
You were.
Oh, you know he had his notes.
No, but his notes were only the
Oh,
names.
I had the notes in one spot, but I was looking everywhere.
All right,
Your
I'm gonna.
cadence is what cracked me up because it was slightly William Shatner, slightly like robot. It was like da 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 da.
Also, listen, the first 3 of us kept it first person. All right.
You know what? We can't all be perfect.
I'm all about being
I
Captain
say we did
Kirk.
a very good job. Great job.
Is
No.
that not the point of
You
television?
really, you can't think of it as a whole. You just have to think of each one as an individual.
Yeah.
How well did they capture the last one?
The story's not complete
One
until
day-
the end.
One day when we all hang out in person, we're gonna need to play Telestrations as well.
Yeah.
We're very similar.
I equally love Telestrations and
We
equally
know.
terrible.
We know. All right. I'm ending this recording now. Bye.
Bye. Guys.